All right, welcome to Bet the Edge. I'm Jay Croucher here with Drew Dinsick. We are recording Thursday afternoon. Today we're going to talk about Patriots-Bears, Eagles-Cowboys, and Lions-Texans before closing out with our best bets in the NFL. Let's start off with Patriots-Bears. Drew, you wanted to talk about this game. Explain yourself.
Well, just leaning into the misery this week, Jay. The Patriots take on the Bears in a game that really could kind of sour things, I think, for the Caleb Williams kind of early portion of his tenure here in Chicago. The vibes coming out of the Chicago Bears locker room right now are not good. There's clearly a huge disconnect between wide receiver one, DJ Moore, and the offense in general. And it feels to me, at least, like a lot of what's going on is sort of frustration at the way that Williams is performing, the quarterback position. And I get it. It's been up and down this year. He had a nice little run when he went up against some weak defenses, and you could qualify the Patriots as a pretty weak defense, but this is a huge number to be laying against a team that at least is trying. It doesn't look like the Patriots are going to be good enough to, kind of put together any sort of sustained success this year, surely. And, they were, but, these last 2 weeks, this is not a team that is rolling over and quitting. And 6.5 is an enormous number for a Bears team that has issues on with the health of some key players in the secondary, has not really been able to generate much of a pass rush, and just in general, I think can be exploited by some of the explosiveness and the elusiveness of Drake May so far. Right now, my numbers don't have a huge margin of difference between Drake May and Bo Nix as the second best rookie quarterback, and Caleb Williams comes in fourth, which is unreal. And a loss here would be, I think, extremely, would just create a lot of chaos in sort of, what is going on in Chicago. What's the future of the coaching and the head, both the head coach and the offensive coordinator there. And this is a relatively low total. We've seen the Patriots defense, certainly kind of give up, yards, if not, huge amounts of points this year. But this is pretty clearly an opportunity, I think, to bet the Patriots. And there's not a lot to love on the board this week. However, at least with the offense for the Patriots being relatively healthy and the Bears defense sustaining some non-trivial injuries, this looks like a bet on the Pats, amazingly.
Okay, so with the Chicago offense, if we're going to lay blame at a certain aspect of it, where would you put it between Shane Waldron, Caleb Williams, the O-line, and the arguably underperforming wide receiver core? Do you think this is primarily a Waldron issue, or is it another aspect?
I'm going to put 60% on Waldron and 40% on Williams. I don't think the offensive line really deserves much criticism. They had some injuries earlier in the season, and they got better and better and better. And the performance of the Bears trended with the offensive line getting healthier and playing better. But the overall, the 60% Waldron problem is it doesn't feel well schemed to take advantage of Williams's strengths, and it doesn't feel well sequenced to where you're getting, some relatively easy button type of plays, which is what you want if you have a rookie quarterback who's learning to play at NFL speed. The kind of 40% on Williams comes down to two things. One is, out of structure, he's been horrible. It has not been especially useful to see, any time that he is not getting the ball out of his hands relatively quickly, meaning like something about the defense is confusing him, and or he thinks he can just hold on to the ball and make some sort of heroic play. Those have just been disastrous. And a kind of specific concern is when he's out of structure and he is trying to target deep down the field along the boundaries. It doesn't really look like he has that in his arsenal, but he wants to do it a lot in games, particularly in comeback mode. And so these are surely fixable problems for a young quarterback, but married with the fact that they're not they don't seem to have a system in place to take advantage of Williams's strengths, which are throwing over the middle of the field and, giving him some relatively easy looks, mixing in some opportunities for out of structure to include his athletic strengths running the ball. Like it doesn't feel particularly fluid. And I don't know if the Bears are the type of organization that's just going to give Waldron 1 year and move on. There's been a lot of criticism of the Bears specifically doing this to young quarterbacks, where they've asked them to learn 2 systems in 2 years. And people, I think, have some PTSD in that organization from, seeing that fail. But I'm certainly not getting the sense that Waldron's bag of tricks is right for today's NFL. And I'm worried that the longer this goes with Williams underperforming, that you have veterans like DJ Moore, who apparently aren't really happy there.
Indeed. All right, before we jump to Eagles-Cowboys, Notre Dame continues its quest for a college football playoff berth on Saturday night. Watch the 10th-ranked Fighting Irish take on Florida State under the lights in South Bend. Coverage of the matchup begins at 7 p.m. Eastern on NBC and Peacock. All right, let's jump to Eagles-Cowboys. I don't know what the look-ahead was for this one before the season. I'm guessing Cowboys -1 or something. It is Eagles -7.5, with Dak Prescott headed for IR. To be Cooper Rush at quarterback, but Micah Parsons expected back, CeeDee Lamb expected to play. What do you think the difference is in terms of its impact on the spread between Rush and Prescott?
I actually can't get to 7.5. I think it's a meaningful downgrade. There's no doubt about it. I will 100% acknowledge I was too high on Dak coming into the season. There was some leftover, glow after what he did last year, which was, at times might have ultimately just been fueled by weakness of opponent. I think his performance this year has been, it's been against very difficult defenses, but it's been quite poor by his standards. And I think Cooper Rush is not necessarily going to save the day by any stretch of the imagination. But going from, the look ahead to 7.5 here is a humongous delta. And I think there are some people that are assuming that the look ahead might have included some optimism that Micah Parsons was going to play. The look ahead might have included some optimism that the injury to CeeDee Lamb wasn't as, that it included CeeDee Lamb, who might ultimately have to miss, even though he was limited in practice, I know. But, there's a little bit of kind of Cowboys are past now at 7.5, which I don't love. And I think the fact that the Cowboys are pretty clearly in the process of now evaluate the bottom of the roster to figure out who are viable pieces to put around your superstars that you're going to be paying enormous amounts of money to next year. It's kind of a dangerous team, I think, to be giving 7.5 points at home. I don't know. It's a little, kind of fuzzy as opposed to kind of hard numbers here, but when second unit guys are given opportunities to prove they get to, they should be included in the future of the franchise, you sometimes get a little bit of a bounce in terms of effort, in terms of performance. Guys just getting, roles and responsibilities that they don't normally have gets them fired up for games. So, I look at just what's going on there, and I look at the injuries to the offensive line with Guyton and Martin, both guys who have not played especially well this year and maybe just neutral by subtraction. And I think that there's a decent chance you could have a little bit of a, kind of death rattle performance here for the Cowboys. And so if you made me take a play at 7.5, I would side with the homeboys, but I don't feel great about it.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'd be on Dallas as well and not feeling great about it. Deron Bland was supposed to be out like 6 weeks preseason with a foot injury. We are at, I think, 12 weeks now that he's been out and he's still not practicing. So that's an issue. It's kind of maligned as Bland was last year in some circles as being a kind of pick six merchant, which in itself is kind of a strange phrase because getting pick sixes is, I'm not sure that's meaning to be just merely a merchant, but he had an elite PFF grade. I think he would probably be the best corner on the team, the way that Trayvon Diggs has struggled a little bit coming off the ACL. So that's an issue for them. But I think Parsons coming back, which I think he's going to do, he's practicing today. So we're recording on Thursday. If he comes back, now it's kind of difficult to have the hypothesis that Micah Parsons is going to revolutionize his defense, given that they gave up 44 points to the Saints when Parsons was fully healthy. But I do think it makes them materially better on defense, particularly with the Eagles O-line a little bit banged up. So that will help. And I think this will be a good test in a way for the Eagles defense, where this has been a much more, I think, competent unit than it was last year. And perhaps this is a game where they can be, not necessarily dominant, but some degree of stifling. So, like, where do you rank the Philly defense at the moment? Like, they're 12th in EPA on the season, which is a huge improvement from last year. They have beaten up on some bad teams, and they have some Deshaun Watson in their numbers. But where do you think Philly's defense stacks up?
Right now, I rate them 14th in the NFL. So just a hair better than league average. I'm higher on the offense than the market is, but yeah, I think in general that Philly's defense can be had, particularly by an elite quarterback, and we may see it on Thursday, which brings an interesting wrinkle into this handicap, which is, if Philly is in cruise control, do they try to shorten the game? Do they try to keep some of the good plays in their back pocket for a game that means a lot more on Thursday Night Football against Washington? Or is this just, hey, you have a division rival who is down, you just punish them for it, which could be what they elect to do. Just for the record, I didn't realize Parsons was that close to coming back. If Parsons is in, my number on the Cowboys is -5.5, which is to say 5.5 worse than an average team on a neutral field. And with the Philadelphia Eagles, I expect to play here, I am 3 points better than average on a neutral field. So that's why I am under a touchdown here, but not by a lot.
Yep. That makes sense. All right, it's a showdown in the Lone Star State this Sunday night. Watch Jared Goff and the Lions take on CJ Stroud and the Texans as both teams fight for playoff position down the backstretch of the season. Coverage starts at 7 p.m. Eastern, only on NBC and Peacock.
As you all know by now, we've teamed up with BetMGM this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all our picks, and we'll have special offers for our listeners each week. If you haven't signed up to BetMGM yet, use bonus code BETEDGE, and you'll get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using bonus code BETEDGE. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your first bet loses. Just make sure you use bonus code BETEDGE when you sign up. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. U.S. promotional offers not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 in New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP in Arizona, 1-800-327-5050 in Massachusetts, 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa, 1-800-981-0023 in Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only, subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code BETEDGE and get your $1,500 first bet offer today.
Okay, so let's close out with Lions at Texans, Sunday Night Football. Lions 3.5-point favorites. The total is 49. I'll be in Houston on Sunday and then flying back before the game commences, but I will be in the city regardless. This is a big game for the Lions as they look to kind of get a bit more of a stranglehold on the 1 seed. The Texans floundering a little bit, though the rest of the AFC South floundering kind of caps any downside for them. This line is saying that the Lions are a lot better than the Texans on neutral, though the Texans are dealing with their own injury issues. Do you have any bet in this game?
Yes, I do. And let's kind of set the table here as far as health, because that's really where it starts. We saw a little bit of activity earlier in the market cycle where somebody was inclined to bet the Texans, maybe speculating that Nico Collins was ready to make his return and really help bolster this passing attack for Houston. Not to be. I don't think Nico Collins is very likely to play in this game. And I do not have solid information on this, but I do not love the vibes around Will Anderson right now. So two pretty important pieces for the Houston Texans could be out here. And then on the flip side, the the linebacker level for the Lions looks like a problem. Reeves Maben and Rodriguez DNPs with neck and ankle injuries respectively. And then and just in general, the D line has had a couple of bumps, and we know, of course, Aiden Hutchinson's out. They're out there trading for Zadarius Smith to try to help bolster their pass rush. They're out there kicking the tires on some linebackers and some D linemen in the pro, to add to their practice squad. So, pretty clearly the Lions to me look like a team. If you are the Texans and you are game planning this week, you are putting together, I think, a relatively run heavy look. The Lions pass rush is still good, even in the absence of Aiden Hutchinson. Most of it is just the way that they are schemed. And I think you don't necessarily want to put CJ Stroud into the situation he's been these last several weeks where he is constantly under pressure. CJ Stroud went from a magician under pressure to a pumpkin pretty aggressively over the course of this season. And I think that in general, there will be a tack into conservatism from Texans and Bobby Slowick in this particular game to try to take advantage of the fact that the second level, most notably the linebacking core for the Lions, is in pretty rough shape here. So if that were to be the general approach, then I think you could get a little bit of a shortened game. I think it will work. Honestly, I think they might have a lot more, 10, 12 play drives, a lot less, need to create a miracle on third down type of situations in this contest. But that has a tendency to just shorten the game. And I think that leans me into an under here with this relatively high total of 49. The flip side, the Lions, as they put together their game plan, I'm expecting the same sort of philosophy where they would lean into the strength of their offensive line in the run block against the Texans team to try to neutralize any issues that may come from Texans being at home in prime time and that pass rush getting home. If you can somehow sidestep the pass rush for the Texans, that defense looks havable as well. So I'm expecting two pretty run heavy and pass light game plans coming into this one. And, of course, as the game state changes, that could change, how they adjust. But I'm looking at two teams that I think are going to have a lot of success on the ground, sort of long, sustained, methodical drives. And I think red zone efficiency is going to determine whether this even flirts with 49 or whether this is like a 23-20 type of game. This has a lot of the same sort of feeling of week one where we had Lions Rams and it's just the game just evaporated, even though both offenses were relatively successful. And I think, the Lions weren't this type of, they weren't this type of respect, I suppose, but not in any way inclined to lay the 3.5 points, just because, again, this is a huge number for a road team. And, really the Lions just need to get out of here with the win. They don't necessarily need to win by margin. So could see a little bit more of a vanilla game plan from them in general. Whereas, like you mentioned, Houston back against the wall a bit. They may be a hair more aggressive on fourth down. I know that, I have a ton of respect for their kicker, Fairbairn, and I know he can make some pretty long field goals, and that's been a huge part of their success to this point in the season. But I still have a much lower total here than the market. I would make this just a hair under 47, so 46.9, and that makes 49 a healthy bet for me to the under.
Okay. Where do you think this Lions defense stacks up in the league right now? Because I think there was some concerns naturally post Aiden Hutchinson going down about their ability to generate pressure. And they bring in Zadarius Smith, but there's not much of a pass rush outside of Smith. The corners aren't super inspiring, but the safeties are very inspiring. Linebackers fine. I think the interior of the defensive line is pretty solid as well, with Alan McNeil and Reader in there to block up the run. But like, do you think this is a top 10 defense?
I don't. I am pretty well off of market on this Lions defense in general. Ironically, I'm exactly on market with their offense. This is the best offense in the NFL. But right now, yes, their neutral defensive points given would be 8th best in the NFL by unpredictables deconvolution. I am nowhere close to that. I would have them in the high 20s, low teens. There's kind of a bunch of teams that are pretty tightly clustered there. It's notable that if you remove turnovers so far, their EPA per play allowed drops to 13th. So they're kind of right there in the mix with the Dolphins and the Raiders. That checks out to me. There are ways to beat this Lions defense. And I think in general, as their their strength of opponent increases into the close here, teams like the Niners, teams like, potentially in the playoffs, teams like the Commanders or the Rams, maybe even their rematch with the Packers with a healthier squad. All of these could be opportunities for this defense to get corrected down. And so even though I'm looking at this particular game as an under, and I'm looking and I might not even end up on the best of the price here, because if Will Anderson is rolled out, this could ultimately go up. Yeah, I'm not enamored with what I'm seeing so far. I think a lot of it is scheme. Aaron Glenn certainly, like the two assistant coaches in Detroit are having just absolutely phenomenal years. They are cooking up some really, really cool stuff, and I think there must be some synergy there where they're kind of helping each other out in terms of what they're seeing, because it's pretty cool to watch. The DVOA, for instance, puts the Lions 3rd right now defensively. I could not be in greater disagreement with what I've seen. So that may be an edge that exists relative to market. But I'm going to wait until we go against some healthier squads and some elite quarterbacks. And right now, CJ Stroud's not there for me.
Yep, I think that's fair. All right, let's go close out with our best bets. I'll start us off. I'm taking the Bills -4 against the Colts. This has trickled down with Colts money early in the week. I understand the Bills have some injury concerns at the moment at receiver, but I think that the receivers are, somewhat interchangeable on this team. That I don't think that if Amari Cooper can't go, I think that Josh Allen and co can survive without him. Still have Khalil Shakir. We'll still have Dalton Kincaid. We'll still have Josh Allen, which is the main thing, of course. I just think this Colts defense, you just think about the way that Sam Darnold was able to move the ball with ease when he wasn't throwing horrific interceptions. I just think this Colts defense just doesn't have the horses at the moment. I think also an underrated thing with the Colts is just how much, as much as Flacco is better than Richardson in a nutshell right now, and he is clearly better for the passing game, he makes the run game materially worse. And the splits with Taylor, with Flacco versus Richardson, are pretty massive, and it just makes logical sense. Like, Joe Flacco is not putting any pressure on the run game, whereas Anthony Richardson, there's going to be lighter boxes, and there has to be someone who is containing Richardson, and Taylor suffers as a result when Flacco is there. So I think that the Bills, they handle business in this one and they cover -4. But what's your best bet?
I love that one, by the way, and worth paying attention to the offensive line injuries for the Colts as well.
Yep, Ryan Kelly out is big.
Yeah, and the other guys missing practice. They're banged up all over the place. Like, if Flacco's under duress in this one, good night. So I'm with you. Bills is solid. Bye, Joe. Boy, he feels like sacrificial lamb between now and their bye week. My goodness, this is not setting up well for him.
I'm going to enjoy it.
Yeah, he's going to miss the couch. The couch was nice this time last year. Anyway, the best bet for me is going to be the Broncos. I'm going to take the 8 points here against the Chefs. This is a little bit of a situational handicap, mostly on top of just a raw numbers. I can't get to 8. We have a very short week for the Chiefs. They're coming off of a Monday Night Football overtime game, Jay. I don't know if you remember that, but they played deep into the night. And It may surprise you to know this, but the Chiefs have yet to kick off at 1 p.m. Eastern all season this year. Almost, but half their games have been in prime time. The other half have been p.m. kickoffs. So this is the first day game for the Chiefs. A little bit of an adjustment for them in terms of like getting going early, on top of the fact that it was a short week, on top of the fact that Mahomes' ankle injury, I know they are saying not a thing. I need to see it to believe it, that he is as mobile, he is as able to evade the rush, and he is as comfortable scrambling with the ankle injury that he sustained. And so, to me, at least, there are lots of factors here that, without even making a number yet, all say, take a good look at the Broncos in this contest. When we get to the number itself, I am on the other side of 7 here. I'm at 6.7 is my fair. The fact that you're crossing 7, I think matters a lot to me in this particular game, because Chiefs winning by a touchdown, that could happen. Sure. If Chiefs winning by a field goal could happen. Chiefs, just in general, eking out a win feels likely. But the Broncos in this contest, if they're able to in any way generate a little bit of success early, and I think the Chiefs defense is starting to, they showed signs against the Bucs that they are beatable. That thing, the air's coming out a bit. Sean Payton is very good at identifying on tape like what Liam Cohen was doing that was so successful for the Bucs in that game, and I think he can incorporate that in their game plan here to get some early success. And if you put the Chiefs in a little bit of a tight spot here, then all of a sudden this becomes a Broncos pass rush, getting pressure on Mahomes with the limited ankle injury, and I think that actually does open up an entire world of possibility that the Broncos could pull off an upset here. I'm not dying to see Bo Nix drop back 50 times in this game against the Chiefs defense if they are trailing. If that's ultimately the way the game state breaks, it could look a lot like last week against the Ravens. But this Chiefs team is not a two-headed monster like Baltimore. I think the Broncos defense is going to have a lot less of a difficult time, somewhat keeping them in check, and that should open up the opportunity for a competitive game. I think I'm not going to play the Broncos money line. I don't know that this is where the undefeated season comes to an end. If it did, I would appreciate it for other reasons. But just in general, I think Broncos catching 8 points is best bet on the board.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's reasonable. There's nothing the Kansas City Chiefs love more than a one-score game, as they've shown over the past 2 years. All right, we are done. Don't forget to check out NBCsports.com for more information to help you with your wagers. Thanks to those watching on the NBC Sports YouTube channel. If you're listening to us in podcast form, don't forget to rate and subscribe. Also a reminder to find all your favorite NBC Sports shows on Amazon Music. Just head to amazon.com/NBC Sports. From myself and Drew, good luck this weekend, and we'll see you soon.